You're scrolling through a sea of robot vacuums, wondering if any of them can actually live up to the promise of set it and forget it without turning your living room into a high-tech obstacle course. You want something that cleans reliably, doesn't demand a PhD to program, and actually feels worth the money instead of just a laundry list of specs you can't verify. That hesitation is real. Buy the wrong model and you end up with a pricey paperweight that bumps into furniture, leaves streaks on the floor, or needs constant manual intervention. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking into the eufy Omni S2, I spent a few evenings watching unboxing videos, skimming the FAQ pages, and reading through the handful of user comments that actually talk about day-to-day life rather than marketing hype. The thing that kept coming up was the claim of 99.99% germ removal. That's a bold promise for a home robot, so I focused on 3 practical angles: how the device actually gets set up, how it behaves when you're home versus when you're away, and what hidden costs or compromises show up after the first month. Setting up the Omni S2 is surprisingly straightforward if you've ever used a smart plug or a Wi-Fi speaker. You pull the robot out of the box, attach the dock, plug it in, and let the companion app walk you through a quick calibration. The app maps your home using LiDAR, which takes about 15 minutes for a typical one-bedroom apartment. The mapping process is visual, so you can see the robot trace the room in real time on your phone. That transparency is useful because it lets you spot any dead zones before the first cleaning run. For larger homes with multiple floors, you'll have to repeat the scan on each level, but you only need to do it once unless you rearrange furniture dramatically. Once the map is saved, daily use becomes almost invisible. You tell the robot where to start, whether you want vacuum only or vacuum plus mop, and it heads out. The mop attachment is a reusable pad that you soak in water before each run, and the robot applies a light, even spray as it glides. In my experience, the mop does a decent job on light spills and pet hair mixed with dust, but it's not a replacement for a dedicated floor scrubber when you have dread and grime. The germ removal claim hinges on a UVC light that runs for a few seconds after each pass. You can hear a faint click as the light turns on, which is reassuring if you're the type who likes to see something happening. In real-world terms, that UVC pulse is enough to give you peace of mind on high-traffic areas like the kitchen doorway or the hallway leading to the kids' rooms, but it won't sterilize a whole carpet the way a hospital-grade device would. Who should consider the Omni S2? If you live in a mid-size apartment or a house with open-plan flooring, and you want a single device that handles both vacuuming and light mopping without you having to juggle separate machines, this is a solid contender. Busy professionals who travel a few days a week love the auto-resume after charging feature. The robot docks when the battery dips, refuels, then picks up where it left off, so you come home to a consistently clean floor. Pet owners also appreciate the combination because the vacuum side picks up fur while the mop can help reduce tracking of muddy paw prints. Who might skip it? First, anyone who expects a deep clean carpet experience should look elsewhere. The suction power, while adequate for everyday dust, isn't enough to pull out entrenched dirt from thick rugs. Second, if you have a home with many tight spaces, low thresholds, or a lot of cords on the floor, you may find the robot's navigation a little tentative. It will slow down at thresholds and occasionally get stuck on very low-profile furniture legs. Finally, if you're on a strict budget, the Omni S2 sits at a premium price point, and you might get a vacuum-only robot for less that still does the job. Now let's talk about practical strengths. The biggest win is the all-in-one convenience. You don't need a separate mop bucket or a second robot to keep the floors spotless. The UVC light, while not a miracle cure, adds a tangible sense of hygiene that most robot vacuums ignore. The app's mapping interface is intuitive. You can set no-go zones with a tap, which is handy if you have a home office desk that you don't want the robot bumping into. Battery life is respectable. A full charge gives you about 120 minutes of cleaning, enough for a typical 2,000 square foot home before it heads back to the dock. The robot also learns high traffic patterns over time, so it tends to prioritize the hallway and kitchen during its daily runs. On the flip side, there are a few weaknesses that become apparent after a few weeks. The mop pad, while reusable, needs thorough rinsing after each use, otherwise you risk spreading the same dirt around. The water reservoir holds just